lot of people here today. I think I saw Stu Cabe. How are the bunnies, Stu? You're mute, Stu Cabe.
The bunnies are multiplying.
Hi, Joe Finbert. Your hair looks very nice. It's flowing. It's long. It's the longest I've seen it, I think.
Till the vaccine comes in, man. I'm just growing my hair.
That's that's the game plan. How's Randall Stick Park? Is he just feeling just the empty stands? You got players waiting in a bubble?
They had to shut her down like everything else.
It stinks. That was among the bigger losses for me this year, not getting a chance to visit Randall Stick.
Yeah. I went with the trailer.
Oh.
Our trailer, not a CISPAS trailer.
That's the move. That's the right move.
Are you talking to us, Guy? Because if you are, we can't hear you.
Hi, Kelly Rogers. Haven't seen your face in too long either. Jason, your beard looks very nice. Sort of the length of Joe's hair, but on your chin.
Can't hear you yet. You're still not. Nope, no Guy. Nope.
Tammy, while we're waiting for Guy, tell us about your granddaughter.
Oh, she's the cutest thing ever. Just got to spend 5 days with her camping, so she's a doll.
Did
9
she
months old.
Did she work on her immune system and eat a little dirt?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. She wanted to eat the leaves off the ground. And she's at that age where you pick everything up. So we think she might be a left-hander.
Ooh. Left-handed day was just last week.
Ah. How can I help you, Guy?
Okay, is that working?
Yes.
We can hear you now.
I had to switch off the headset and go with a different microphone. It's one of the advantages of being a virtual teacher before everybody else got the pleasure of doing it, is I invested a lot more in technology. So I have lots of different things, but then I have to figure out what's working and what's not working, because sometimes they like cancel each other out.
Oh, got you.
Which one's it set to, and the headset was working earlier, but apparently it's not right now. So anyway, welcome to WACA Wednesday. We are recording it. It'll be available so you can come back and watch it if you miss things, if you want to share stuff with people. I did find out how that works, and we have it. We'll be able to put it on our website and link it so people can come back and get it. Let's see. So I start screen sharing. Hopefully you can see the PowerPoint. I'm going to give you the opportunity to do this. So what's one word you'd use to describe a Zoom meeting? So you can type in a word into the chat. And this is actually a one-worder activity. is something you can use to open a class or help students at practice, like using virtual chat. And this, I'm using APA format there, and it's actually from Character Strong. So
Hollywood Squares is a nice throwback, Debbie. Thank you for that. I used to watch that with my family. What was it, every Thursday? Every Thursday night with Hollywood Squares?
Don't know the day, but I forced it into one word.
Yeah, it's nice. Not even a hyphen, just concatenated.
No hyphen for you.
Yeah. I like it stayed really strict on the rules.
okay, so as people are putting stuff in the chat, it's good to see like the interactivity and stuff like that. And I know part of the thing is we're getting ready to move forward with, starting the year teaching virtually is like, what's it going to look like and what are you going to do and all that sort of thing. And being able to share different ideas and concepts is good. This is the focus of the meeting. There's a lot of stuff on there. You'll notice it's like color coordinated because I like color. So I'm going to start off, we're going to do some stuff with looking at some leadership programs. And then we'll jump into looking at incoming student orientation, welcome back assemblies. And then the red topics are like ASB stuff, and then plans for WACA Wednesday. Now, one of the things that I do with virtual meetings and things like that is people comment that I do a lot of like background stuff because I use backgrounds to engage people or provide information or things like that. So like right now I'm screen sharing and I'm going to stop screen sharing, but I switched my backgrounds while that was going on. So what you should have now is my background on this side of me. Yeah, right there. It's the thing where the camera gets you the opposite way. So my background over here is the agenda. So I'm going to keep it up there so that I'm able to refer to it without having to go, what was on my own agenda? It'll just be right behind me. So you also will have it as well. So to start with, and this is kind of a loose way of addressing things. I don't want it to be like you're going to sit here and look at this and go, well, I don't have anything to share there or anything like that. I want you to be able to participate in what we're doing. So if you have information or things that you feel are important that you want to like put out for people, because we're going to only get better if we share information. So I'm starting off with some things with like leadership programs, because I know like Houston said he was going to try to pop by, and there he is. And I also have stuff with like welcome back assemblies towards the top, because I know Stu is here. I did invite Scott Bakovich, but I haven't heard back from him yet. And so I don't know if he's going to make it or not. And John Norland said he may pop in, depends on whether or not he's able to step away from taking care of his little guy. So people are here. So to begin with, let's talk a little bit about leadership programs. One of the things that was brought up to me to make sure we talk about is the whole LMS thing and what platforms you're using, because one of the things moving forward is you might be like, you know, if you're using Canvas, are there people who also use Canvas that you can like reach out to and like connect with? I shared in the exec board meeting and then with the area reps just the last 2 days, like my personal thing, having been a virtual teacher now going into year number 2, is I taught in Blackboard, and it has all of the stuff in it, and it was embedded into an LMS that was designed by the K-12 company. So it's not something that you're probably going to be using unless you work with K-12. But For example, I was going to be teaching on a Blackboard again, but we're switching over to New Row to be able to do this stuff, the video things. And then last Friday, they decided New Row isn't ready yet. So I got a Zoom account. And it's like, oh, great, I get to learn Zoom when I chose not to learn Blackboard because they told me we're going to do a different one. And now I'm doing another one, but I'm going to get a third one at some point during the school year. So if you're able to do that, you could put something into the chat, like say what, if you know what platform you're using, what you're familiar with, so we can have the resource. If somebody's like, I'm working with Canvas, I'm working with Schoology, and I don't know if there's anybody else in the state that's doing that, we'll have that information. Now, the other thing that I put up here, because I didn't want to keep like Houston and Scott, I did see Scott got here. I didn't want to keep you guys hanging out and be like, okay, I'm going to wait all the way till the end of the meeting to be able to like say hi and what's going on. So one of the things that I think is important for us is that two resources that are really good for us right now are Character Strong and Involve, because what I've seen, I've looked at other things, I'm trying to stay connected on a national level with like what's happening, and those two programs seem to be one of the only ones that are like ahead of the curve. And I asked people representing them to come here and be able to like field questions, share what it is they're doing. So with that, if like Houston or Scott, whichever one of you wants to step up and share, you're more than welcome.
While they're sharing, one of the things I'd like people to do is, everybody's putting in that they're doing Schoology and Teams and Classrooms and Zooms, because that would help if everybody put those in the chat as well, what your school's using.
Scott, my boy, would you like to chat, or do you want me to go ahead?
Oh, my friend. Why don't you go first? You look like you're in such a nice, it's very colorful behind you, and I love that.
Thank you. I am cozy presently. Yeah. Hi, friends. Thanks, Guy, for inviting me today. It's always fun to see familiar faces in a nice giant Zoom room like this. I've seen some of you on a bunch of different things that we've been up to. I think that I am in good, sleepy company when I say that there has been a lot of things happening and I am tired. So it is always refreshing to see people that I know and love. And I know so many of you have shown up for so many of the things we've been up to, which is awesome. I wanted to share with you a couple of just like practical things, I hope, ranging from the price of totally free to slightly less free that could be available in your world. Let me, would you make me oh, I can't, I don't even need to be a co-host. I can just share my screen.
You should be able to share.
Amazing. So one of the things that we built, I guess a few months ago, we just finished our last training of it, was this relaunching relationally roadmap that we tried to build to help schools figure out how to come back in a very relational way, whether they're in person and virtual, with a heavy focus on it being knowing that there was going to be a lot of things that are happening virtually. So I'm going to drop into the chat right now a little download link that came from that I want to share with you guys, that just has some, as Guy was like role modeling with his lovely virtual background there. I just dropped into the chat a link to download a couple of fun, silly virtual backgrounds that you can use for some interactive games. Scott, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this is my new favorite game that has been created. The one I'm going to role model, and there's a bunch of them in there. You can kind of like hopefully use this as inspiration. But this one's called the Nose Nose. And the way it works is if you were to go into Zoom If you're hovering over the bottom bar, there's like mute and stop and start video. There's that little arrow next to the stop and start video, and you can hit choose virtual background. So we won't do this whole process right now, but it's pretty straightforward. You download what I sent, you can unpack it, and then you can upload. Upload virtual backgrounds that allow you to turn your background from plain old that to a little bit more exciting this. And the premise behind this would be, you can use this in lots of different ways, but the way I like to use it, this one's called the nose knows. And the idea would be you'll see 4 options on the screen. So you get students to make this their virtual background. And then you'd say, okay, if you could master one sport, which one would it be, for example? And if, let's say I wanted to master soccer, I can't point to it. I only have to use my nose to make the selection. Or if I can't change my virtual background, I can put up like a number, or I can drop into the chat what my choice is. So you can get creative with the types of questions you ask here. Like if you could be a bird, would you want to be a toucan or a penguin? You get the point? It is very silly, but a fun, practical, like sort of get to know you activity. And the link that I dropped there has a bunch of backgrounds that you can use in a lot of different ways. Some of them are like, maybe you've played the classic heads and tails activity where you like flip a coin and people either like put heads or tails. There's like a background that you can go to either side. So you can like visually move and show people what that looks like. There's another one there in the folder you'll see called Common Ground. And the idea behind Common Ground would be, if I can role model real quick, would be, let's say I have these different color like gradations here. You could have students actually stand up, and as like one person shares things that they're like, that they are about them, right? Like I grew up and I was an only child, and let's say that I'm role modeling like this, I might stand here and then I would move to the next thing if I have that in common. So you could get a really quick visual indication of other people in your virtual classroom that have things in common with you. So that is one thing that I hope provides some silly joy to you in the virtual background world. Let's see, let me turn this off and move this up and stop Slack from annoying all of us. So that's part 1. Part 2 is last week. We had some amazing educators, including Eric Enzi, James Lehman, Sally Rusk, Don Bartel. I think Coley was on there. There was like a squad of Washington educators. And Scott was on there where we did a webinar about this specific topic, like how to tackle leadership in a virtual setting. And it was super, like the conversation was just money. Like the people are so smart. Some of the stuff is so practical. So let me drop this link in the chat for you. That one, you can go back and rewatch this. It includes a lot of familiar fun faces talking about things in really thoughtful ways. That being said, this Friday, we have another, like a follow-up to that webinar where we're bringing together not advisors this time, but we're bringing together students to talk about the same sort of questions. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you wanted to tune into that, all those webinars and stuff that we host are totally free. So even if you can't make it live, if you sign up for it, we'll send you a recording of it and everything. So some people really enjoy that sort of mode of learning. And if that's helpful to you, we've been pulling together some awesome people for stuff like that. So that's available. Other fun news in the one notch less free category is my book. We are officially launching it tomorrow. Comes out 9/22, which is really exciting. I was gonna self-publish it, and then through a series of really fun events, Simon & Schuster is publishing it. So it's like literally just over a month until it drops. So I'm super excited to share that. And one of the things that we've been building behind the scenes are discussion guides, specifically oriented around like the student leadership world. So the conversations around deep kindness, which is like, how do we move away from like the old classic kindness weeks or kindness months to living a more kind lifestyle? What are the skills that we need to cultivate, especially in our young leaders, to actually move the status quo forward and cultivate a world focused on justice and compassion and not just pleasantries and post-it notes. So this is a discussion guide that any one of you, I can send this to you if you wanted to use this with your class. And every chapter has questions that are designed to kind of like unpack and think about the book. And a lot of them are really pretty directly related to like the student leadership world and what we can do to think about. Here's an example. Quote from the book that's like sort of common wisdom is people more actively seek Advil than vitamins. So what's an issue at your school where you feel like we are trying to use easy solutions instead of working on the quote unquote deeper problem? Questions like that to allow processing. And then the very end of this has a final worksheet that takes like the sort of 5 final steps of the book and could be like an actual assignment that they turn in. We did the same thing for educators. So we built a discussion guide if you wanted to use it as like a staff book study with distinct questions in here for each of the chapters. So that's a fun thing if that's something you're interested in. The book itself, I'll just keep dropping these in the chat. The book itself, thanks Susie for the congrats. Thanks Caleb. That's the book if you are into or wanted to do like a, where is it? Let's see here. If you wanted to do like a class kind of set thing, there's a link for that too. 2 other final thoughts. This is the relaunching relationally roadmap. There's like whole categories built in here. James helped build this. Coley helped build some of this alongside a bunch of other educators helped put this together. So if you're interested in this as like a individual, one person can purchase this and then you can use it as a school, but there are literally over 100 different practical relationship building strategies that you can integrate into any class. And then there's some specific call outs for student leaders in general. Kim asked, does the discussion guide come with your book? Yeah, in fact, I will send it to you right now. I'm just dropping into the chat if you wanted to like take a look at it, the student study guide for the book, which won't mean a ton until you actually read the book, but you can get a sense of like the types of questions that I'm asking. Last but certainly not least, one of the things that we did during like the first really 9 weeks of quarantine were these virtual assemblies where Scott is featured. And I believe, Scott, you were in selflessness. That was you. So we did 9 weeks. They were each about 45 minutes, but we have like the full videos here that you could watch, but we also have each presenter as an individual video with worksheets that go with every one of the presentations that kind of like take their message, have some reflection questions, and then opportunities to put it into action. So that's something that you could use as well with student leaders. If you wanted to like have sort of that message, you could watch it as the full thing where I sort of curate and pull some stuff together, or you could have students watch these as individual videos and then use these as like processing. So like the processing pieces and stuff are a part of our Character Strong gym. But if you just go to our YouTube channel, you'll also see we have a whole playlist of all of these videos online. Those are all the things that we've been working on. I hope some of them are a little bit helpful in what you all are up to, and you can take something to make it work with your students as you're kicking off this year. I know we have like a couple weeks runway. A lot of schools back in Texas and things are already back, and it's madness. So we get a few more weeks of breathing room, and I hope some of these things feel supportive.
Thanks, Houston.
God, I'm gonna pass to you.
I'm looking through all of this. So good. You're the best. One thing that's brought me a lot of I guess peace in all of this is knowing, like, is watching how I guess the lengths to which and the amount of which Houston, you and John and the Character Strong team have like responded in this moment for students and for educators. Like, I know I say this often, but you guys are incredible. I have So much love for what you guys are doing. Yeah, goodness. Hi, it's good to see faces. I love seeing your guys' faces because like we were all together right before this all happened. There's something oddly comforting about that. And also like slightly, I don't know why, but I always think back to, I think there was like the last morning we were all having breakfast and there was this weird moment. We all kind of looked at each other like, is this real life? Like, is this, but when I do look back at that, I think of just like really, really pure happy thoughts. Cause like, God, there's any like type of environment to be in to like absorb that kind of news, it would have been around a lot of you. And so there was something oddly comforting about all of that. I am in my home office right now. Apologies for the blank shelves. We're moving. We got a bigger place, and so we're doing the whole thing. I've been every day, about 6 hours minimum a day. I've been in my studio that I've rented out in Huntington Beach, about 15 minutes down the road, doing trainings for student leadership programs, for activities programs. When all of this kind of started and we started realizing that this would last farther than, the spring or summer, one of the big questions is like, how in the world do we do activities sustainably and in a way that actually creates the intended impact of creating community with being virtual. Last spring, we all did something, which was take the word virtual and throw it around like crazy and put it in front of every activity we did. And we're like, I hope this works. And we did that a lot. We're like, virtual dances, virtual graduation, virtual. I hope it floats. And like, that was kind of how we got through the storm. And I remember looking back on all of that, and obviously we put out a ton of resources in the spring of like different activities. And we had a video series that, 700 schools in I think 6 countries it was signed up for, which was amazing. And by the way, you can still find all of those. I'll put a link to it online. And it was amazing to watch the response. But I knew full and well that when the fall came, there'd have to be a different approach. This idea that we were gonna like train student leaders once, like we usually would do in the fall, is train student leaders once and hope that they were good for the year. For me, it was hard to pass that by because I knew that every 2 seconds, it seems like in 2020, the goalpost shifts just a little bit. And so I don't want to ever train student leaders or give them information where 2 days later the rules changed again. And so we can't do those activities and they feel pessimistic. And so I wanted to make sure I was doing everything I possibly could to help student leaders in a way that was going to be really, really beneficial and also that could grow with them throughout the school year. And so we released, I think it was like the first week of July, we released it called Involve in Progress because I know activities will be a constant work in progress this year. And it's been some of the most incredible, some of the coolest single moments of my entire 14-year career is we get online in a 3-hour Zoom call with students and we work on their school, and it's so interactive and the kids are running around and they're in a million different breakout settings, and it's just so fun to watch because in a normal environment, I think we take for granted the fact that students are excited. And our job is to funnel that creativity and excitement into something that's compassionate and beneficial. And I think this year, students by nature aren't very excited. They're pessimistic. And you know what? They have good reason to be pessimistic. They have good reason to be skeptical. And so watching them get incredibly, totally on fire and excited for what activities could look like again, and giving them actual tangible frameworks. I love being really practical. Like my brain just works in hyper practical fashion. And so giving them really practical frameworks to actually create activities and watching them create all of those in real time, put them into use, come up with game plans for the year, and be so intentional in that process is amazing. And so it's how it kind of works. And today was my first day in a while where I didn't have an afternoon training. So I've been home. I was so happy. But it was just 3-hour training. And then after the training's done, I wanted to make sure that is involved, we gave schools the resources to make sure activities existed throughout the year in an incredibly positive fashion. So there were 3 things we loaded every school with. One was in the case they do go back in any form or fashion, and I'll go through them in order of like least importance to most importance, is we gave them a 1-year subscription to our online activity hub, was just a library of activities with step-by-step instructions and all of that goodness. Second and third, far more importantly, second, we gave them 1 year of our weekly activity challenges, which are like pre-built activities that engage a certain subsection of their student population on campus, all built for distance-based learning that the school receives every single Sunday throughout the year. And then third, and far more importantly, I know that things are going to continue to change. And so I wanted to give schools access and the availability to respond to that change. So each school receives 3, we're calling them response credits. And how it works, we built into the entire back end of the website 2 ways for schools to use them. One, the part that's actually physically built into the website is they can log in and literally schedule. They have an hour by hour access to my calendar and can schedule follow-up sessions where we literally get on the phone or on video, depending on where I am, and actually get down to business with some of these things. And then second, and far more importantly, is we're going to be holding these really big, really important special live virtual events throughout the year, where we tackle these really big and hyper-specific student activity questions. And rather than like, so we'll put it out to the public and schools will be able to pay for per student to get a ticket and attend because they are going to be really, really high level and more importantly, just really beneficial and content filled. A school can use 1 response credit, sign up literally their entire leadership department. If they can't make it live, it's fine. They get a digital recording of the event, follow-up questions if you want to use it to supplement curriculum. It's been wonderful to watch because it's schools every day. I know a bunch of you in the call and in the chat, we already have dates already scheduled for, and some have already done their training. And I feel very fortunate in the sense that these students have been giving me a lot of hope. I think there's this 2020 is filled with a lot of bad news, and I think our activities can be really, really good news. And the hope that students have been giving me lately is it's really good news. And so I'll throw a link into the chat, and you can check out the program. Please email me if you have any questions. I always get up really early before morning trainings and answer all of these emails. I know I've got as I look through the screen, so many people in here who are already like locked in and ready to go. Like I see Kelly Rogers, and I see all kinds of amazing humans that I get to see so soon for their trainings, and I'm giddy. Y'all, our student leaders right now are more ready than they ever have been to create community. I think schools have been trying to get rid of bad activity traditions for a really long time, traditions that are more harmful than helpful in creating school culture. And 2020 gave us the ability to actually reorganize. And the way I phrased it on the Character Strong panel the other day, I think we've been using the same toolbox in student activities for about 40 years now. And like these same tools. We've been using Spirit Days because, well, that's the tool. And we've been using assemblies because, well, that's what we do. The toolbox changed. And I don't think, and putting virtually in front of it, that's a Band-Aid, but I'd love to have an actual new toolbox. And the cool thing is, new toolboxes are actually out there. And I'm giddy because it's been so fun and so amazing. Like I said, I don't want to take up your guys' time. I'm going to throw the link into the chat because if I know a lot of you have already seen it and emailed and gotten your dates down, but I would love to help give info to anyone and everyone who's interested. Please feel free. You'll see on the website, there's a little link to reach out. And I would love to help answer any questions. And we're going to be coming out with some free resources, more free resources really soon. If you want to find the free video series we did in the spring, the virtual activity starter pack that we kind of issued as a site, I'll put those in the chat as well. But yeah, Guy, I appreciate you even reaching out. I'm so glad that I didn't have an afternoon training. This is great. So I can see people I love. But I just threw the link into the chat. Oh, apparently it didn't show up as a link. I'll re-put it in there. But Guy, I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone who's on the call.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you making the time to come in. When we talked about your schedule and being in meetings, and it just happened to work out, you were able to get here. I appreciate the fact you took the time to come. So thank you for that.
Of course.
So our other guest is Stu, who's been sitting and listening, and I want to give Stu the opportunity to share what's going on in his world and how he was there when we were closing things down back in March. I remember having a conversation with him in the lobby as he was getting ready to leave and talking about how things were affecting other people around us, and just the sense of like the unrealness of the whole thing. So I appreciate Stu coming in, and I want to give you the opportunity to share, Stu.
Well, thank you, Guy. Can you hear? I'm not. I want to make sure that I'm not on mute. Good. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Stu Cabe, and I'm the owner and CEO of the Ovation Company, where we stand up for what's good in schools. And I have not actually been on an airplane in 6 months, which is crazy. That for 22 years, I've been on an airplane constantly.
Stu, you went
We
to
lost you,
mute.
Stu.
Stu, come back to us.
Okay, I'm back. I don't hit. I'm doing this on my phone because my computer is too old to Zoom meet. So I'm listening to Scott and to Houston talk. It's exhausting. I don't have the energy to be that new dog. I'm an old dog, man. I turned 54 this summer. And the idea that, good for you for creating that, because I just, damn, I can't do it. I'm like, and so I can speak to a couple of things that I have to offer, but I'm an old dog, and I know that there are some folks that are on this call that are a lot like me. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? Months and months ago. And then I resigned to the fact that I don't know what schools need. I just don't. And it would be presumptuous of me to think I do. And so I thought, well, I can build my square peg and then spend all of my energy. A little Scott alluded to it, that I'll prepare this, and 2 days later, it's completely irrelevant. And so where I am right now is I'm just doing anything that a school needs custom wise. Like I am already in negotiation with about a dozen schools to do some type of back to school orientation, back to school, kind of expectations, and having kids understand why we have to do this, the seriousness of it, motivating through that. So I'm custom building each one as if it was just the only gig I've got going on in my life. And so I actually emailed about 4 or 5 people today. And so if you're looking for something custom, or you need to motivate on a level, because each school I've discovered is so individual, that there's these lovely people like Scott and Houston. They're putting things out that you can just menu pick. And thank goodness, I'm not the menu pick guy. I'm going to custom build like a meal for your school. And I'll be the chef for each one. And then because I'm not in a position to normalize any of this. I have to hunker down and kind of wait for normal to return. And my example of that is, if you were to go to a Taylor Swift concert, you're probably going to pay $200 for it, and that's probably a crappy seat. And I've been on the road doing concerts for 22 years. But if you want to go buy her album, it's $19.99. It's the same material, it's just not the same experience. And I just decided that what I provide is not really going to have the impact if I just took my stories, my assemblies, and just put them online. Number one, that's dangerous because people can just look at them and then I have no control over where they end up. But also, I would rather say, what do you need? My wife worked for Garth Brooks for about 3 years with his organization, and he would never, ever, ever just sign his autograph because he didn't want it ending up on eBay someplace. So he would always say, oh, who is this to? Okay, thank you to Tammy Caldwell, my very best Garth Brooks. And that was an incredible lesson that I learned from just, that's what I have to offer. But thought I'd really quickly tell you, I'm also very, very connected to the Boomerang Project. If you are looking for something and you are not a Link Crew or web school, or if you are, they busted their asses. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to say busted. They really worked hard to get a virtual program up and running. And I've seen it is incredible. And so if you are really lost in looking for orientation, they've already done it. It's genius. And so if you are a link or a web school, they've got it. And if you are not, look into it. It's fantastic, and it's kicking butt. Phil Boyd and I are talking about breaking down the walls and what that will look back when some type of normalcy comes back online. Being able to do small, very focused events with kind of your water carriers, 150 students as opposed to what I'm normally doing, which are large assemblies, 2,000 at a time. And so, and then I was ready to launch my brand new Kindness Rules activity and workshops. And that's just on hiatus because it's an in-person experience. So that's kind of where I'm at. I just am going to have to be one of those people that says, what do you want? I'll build it for you like a chef, but I'm going to have to wait for some normalcy to come back. I just don't think I'm quality. I don't have the qualities to do a studio album. I'm a live concert guy. And sorry for all the music references. I was going to do one more for anybody who might be old enough to know Alan Parsons Project. If you've ever been to a basketball game, you've heard their opening at every basketball game in the history of basketball, but they never once did a tour. Never once. They were always a studio. And the people that have the skill to do studio stuff that you've already heard from today, my hat is off. Why work that hard when you've got high quality out there already? So if you're looking for something specific, you have very specific needs. I'm really tuned into the BIPOC movement. I've had to because of my theater that I also run that is shut down. So if you're looking for any of that kind of connection and whatnot, I got some resources there too. So that's what I got. I appreciate the 6 minutes that you guys gave me today. And my hat is off as a former high school teacher. I did 4 years of high school teaching, and I can't imagine what it must be like. It's got to be exhausting. So I am beyond grateful that you guys are doing what you're doing, and that's not just smoke, because it's really amazing. So folks, I'm really high tech here. I don't even have anything that, oh, this is me. stucape@gmail.com. That's as high tech as I get, peeps. All right. Thanks, everybody. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Good to see you, Caleb. I'm working on my my beard to be as long as yours.
Looking good, my man.
I learned from the best.
Thank you, Sue. So I appreciate the three of you guys coming in and sharing resources, because I think that's part of where we are, is we need to know what's available and what the shifting world of what teaching and learning is going to look like this year, or at least the start of the year. How's that going to affect things? So you gotta remember which way I'm pointing. It's that way. Over my shoulder here, my agenda, which Houston was kind to share, like how you set your background if you don't know how to do that in Zoom and you're going to have to teach out of Zoom. There was a question that came up to me in the chat asking, like, how did I do that? How did I take my slide and make it into my background? And it's a really simple thing, because I taught out of PowerPoint all last year, and because it was all the things I put together, I'd have my agenda, and all you need to do with that is go in, and when you click to save it, you can save a slide as an image. So you save it as a JPEG or a PNG, and then you just go in and select your virtual background and pull that image up, and then you have it. That's what that is. It's my image that I saved of the PowerPoint that I started the meeting with. So with that, we did have some information shared about like student orientations and welcome back assemblies already. If there's questions about that, if there's people who are like, what's that look like? I don't know. If you're doing activities and people are talking about, well, you need to have an orientation, you need to do all these things that you normally do in person, and now guess what? You're having to do it virtually. I know, like Tina had shared in the area rep meeting yesterday that she was doing stuff with Link Crew, and then Stu just said that there's resources available from Link Crew that have the stuff that you can work with that. It's whatever that looks like with what you're having to do. Part of the thing that I focused on, because I helped one of my colleagues who is very like big picture and not so much structure. And how does that look? Because you have to be more structurally centered to actually get an activity to work in a virtual world, because it's completely different. And so what's that look like? So if people want to discuss that, people have things to share, I'm more than willing to open that up.
I don't have anything. This is Johanna. I'm from Shorecrest. She, her. But it makes me think about how do I take the planning tools that I would usually give my students and maybe tailor them a little bit more for virtual, I guess. I don't know. I'm so nervous for school starting.
I'll take a stab and share what I'm doing. I built some stuff over the summer thinking I would be using Zoom, and one of my first calls with the principal this year was that that's going to be off the table for us. We have to use Teams. One of the features of Zooms is the ability to do breakout rooms, and I run the web leadership program. I am going to do orientation, and I am going to use Zoom for it because it's already built. And we've got some online icebreakers. I'll do a training for a few hours, for 4 hours one day with the new web leadership team, do some of the ice-breaking activities together. They're actually going to have them create a video introduction of themselves, and a volunteer yet to be determined will help splice that together. And we're going to have an hour-long 6th grade orientation that will have some icebreakers, some video introduction, brief speech by the principal, setting theme for the year. It's not the same as being in the school building and doing the tour and showing them how to open their locker and where the boys' bathroom is, girls' bathroom, those kinds of things that happen. But I'm actually really excited for it. And I'm excited to try to keep the emphasis on empowering the web leaders themselves to facilitate. If there are any suggestions for another, Teams just isn't ready to run on breakout rooms. Microsoft will have that released in Q4, they say, so at the end of 2020. So I'm hoping the district will be flexible in letting me use Zoom, because I have my stuff somewhat designed for that, and it's a viable format, being able to pre-assign rooms and those things for when we meet. But so I'm interested in technology platforms and tools that others are using that might be able to facilitate having large group then small group, and also the ability to broadcast video to stream on occasion. So interested in what folks are up to.
Are you guys a Canvas school at all?
No, we are a Schoology school with Power School, and now Microsoft Teams, although last year we were allowed Zoom in the spring, but I'm told that from on high that that's not going to happen, although the superintendent used Zoom today because Teams crashed, so I'm hoping there might be flexibility.
Okay, I was going to say, I was in a Avid training a couple weeks ago, and they used Big Blue Button, which embedded in Canvas and was very easy to use and user-friendly with breakout rooms. But I don't know if that embeds in Schoology at all, or if you guys would be allowed to use that either. But it's definitely one I would look into. The breakout rooms were super easy to navigate between, and I think it would be great for kids.
Thank you for sharing that. I've written it down. Appreciate it.
For video, we're using Flipgrid a lot in our district, and I feel like it's been really helpful for students to record like short little videos. So you can have a prompt, maybe have them introduce themselves, whatever it is. Like I can record a video and then they kind of record responses, and you can make it moderated if you don't want them to see each other's videos. So I would just be upfront with them about whether you're going to be sharing it or not sharing it. And if you moderate it, it keeps the video hidden, and you can just like leave it hidden and then you can see it, but not everybody can. Or if you want to, you can unhide it or activate it so everyone can see it. They'll give you like 10 minutes free right now too. So that's kind of nice. It's a lot of recording time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angie, and I have not had the opportunity to meet any of you guys because I have not been to the conferences, but I've been an activity coordinator. This is my 4th year. So I've heard about them, but I haven't had the opportunity to come out. So I am wondering, and there may not be a solution right now, I don't know, how can we make these virtual assemblies and whatnot, like, for example, Spirit Assembly, like really energetic? Is that like gone? Like the whole high energy, exciting? Is there any way to make that virtual? See Johanna laughing, like, no.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's gonna be, my plan is to kind of stick with the agendas that we've used, put the kids in charge of the segments, and I don't think it's gonna have that interactive feel in the same way. I'm not sure. At my school, we're still doing our like homeroom, and Friday is gonna be fun day. And so we'll kind of have like 35 minutes every Friday, and then like teachers don't know what to do with that time yet. So like the first week we're in charge of all of them anyway. Who the heck knows? But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe if you watch some of those character strong ones for examples, and then there's some interactive kind of games like the hat trick that you could play, or maybe some scavenger hunt things, or I don't know, it's hard because it just feels so fake too sometimes. I find myself kind of like not being that excited about it when I'm in a meeting with those things. I don't know, it's crazy.
Thank you.
Christy, will you tell us more about your online assembly?
Damn, girl, you gonna call me out like that?
You put it in the chat.
Yes, it was in the chat. Yeah, so my kids, I am at Lincoln High School in Seattle, so we literally had a new school opening last year, so weirdest first year ever. And so we only have 9th and 10th graders, and some of the good thing that happened was when we switched to this online learning funness, the kids, I basically said, there's no rules. Like, you want to do assemblies? Okay, what do you want them to look like? We found somewhere a school in Oregon had done an online assembly, and so I sent it to the kids, and they were like, meh. So they kind of came up with their own. They solicited videos. They ended up doing 3 assemblies during quarantine. And the last one was long enough that it was 35 minutes, which by the way is too long. But they just solicited videos from all kinds of kids. The first one was slow. They mostly did all their videos themselves on the first one. And then they got more people submitting the second one. They saw how fun it was. And then the third one, we had quite a few submissions. But we had we basically were like, make us a video, the end. And so we had kids that we had one kid teach us how to make avocado toast with weird captions. And we had somebody, they did like a drag race, but it was all faked and set to like weird backgrounds. And like, they just were goofy and did weird stuff. We were able to get our teachers, about 12 teachers did TikTok challenges, and then we had about 25 of our teachers or 30 of our teachers out of a staff of 40 that did a art recreation challenge, and they had that running like the whole week of the assembly. And we have an Instagram account, so they were posting all of that stuff on Instagram for people to vote. on who was recreating better, and they had this whole like voting thing set up, and that was fun. But yeah, it's not going to be live. They did a lot of research and finally decided to do a YouTube premiere, which allows you to have everything pre-recorded, so that we could make sure there was no slip ups during the assemblies, but it allows everyone to watch it at the same time. So it drops at a very specific time, and it does this whole countdown, and they would hype it up for the whole week and drop it then. And they still did, competitions. We did spirit weeks that were all online. Those were a little slower. Like, it's just going to take a while to kind of get used to this shift in gears, but it was, again, I had a little bit of an advantage because every single thing we did last year from September was the first time we'd ever done it. So we didn't have like, I had no seniors I had to deal with. Didn't have to deal with graduation and all the heartbreak of prom and all of those other things. So like, I want to be really clear that gave my school a little bit of an advantage. So just know that. But I love talking about that stuff, and you are welcome. We have a YouTube channel that you are welcome to look at the assemblies. I also know that West Seattle, I believe was West Seattle, did a talent show online. And I heard, I want to say another school that I can't remember, Angie might remember, in Seattle did a multicultural show somehow online, and I'm not totally sure how that went. But they're out there, that you just got to get creative and do something that works for your school. And I'm more than happy to meet with you. Kids are amazing, and they are so creative, and they come up with the most interesting ways of doing things if you basically say, well, there's no rules, let's figure out something totally different. And that's my opinion.
One of the things that we're working on is, again, going back to Flipgrid. We've got like a guess the teacher thing where we've like, one of the filters is a pixel filter. And so it's pixelated it out, and they give some hints. We're also thinking about maybe building that a little bit further and trying to do like a Masked Singer type style, using Flipgrid there. And so it's like give hints, maybe not just singing, but like a talent show type thing, but they'll be kind of pixelated or hidden, and then try and guess. But again, more of a like variety show feel where it's like pre-recorded stuff. We also use Flipgrid for our election speeches and things like that.
Hello. Hopefully I'm not, hopefully you're seeing me. This is Carol Lynch, Garfield High School. A couple of things of ideas for the virtual assembly. When I watch America's Got Talent or watching the conventions and stuff, I'm looking at where they're showing, it appears that they're sharing a screen of a video, but you can see all the people in the back applauding for the people. And I could envision doing class competitions that way, where, you know, you were able to get specific kids in the group, but then they're probably using Zoom, which our district is also trying to say no to. But it is one way to do that. And then like for our freshman orientation, we're actually gonna make like a promo video that's a virtual walkthrough of our school with a drone from the outside, so that our students can see a tour of our school as part of our orientation.
Okay, I'm going to jump in for a moment here and just say it is after 5:30, and this was scheduled to go to 5:30, but we obviously, when you look, oh, that finger, when you look at the agenda over my shoulder, there's still some stuff there we haven't discussed. And what I've been putting in chat is people have been asking about, is this being recorded? And yes, it's currently being recorded, and the plan is to have it available on our website. We don't have a tab for it just yet, but the idea is that when you go and you see it says conference and all the other things that are there you could look at would be a WACA Wednesday tab, and then you could go and find like this one, so it'd be August 19th, and we'd have a topic, back to school, and you can click on it and be able to then go, we'll probably embed it in our YouTube channel, so you can then retrieve it that way. So if you have to go, you're more than welcome to come back and watch that stuff and get the rest of the whatever's going to be shared. Because I don't want to say, well, it's 5:30, it's time to go, and I kick people out, because I know there's still some stuff people would like to talk about that I have on that side. That side. I mean, I keep forgetting which side to point at. So if you have to go, it was great for you to be here. But we're going to continue. If there's anything else that was with the virtual events, one of the things that I will share, being a virtual teacher for the whole last year, is within like Zoom, for example, if you're doing an assembly, Zoom has a capacity of how many people could actually be in there. And you may have to, you know, because this is also something where we're going to look at on one of our future WACA Wednesdays, we're going to talk about some of our required assemblies that we're supposed to have, you know, like Veterans Day and Martin Luther King, and what's that look like in a virtual world. And one of those things may be, do you have to have the capacity of whatever platform you're using expanded for a whole school assembly? Because you may not be able to get everybody in there for an assembly. So if there's other things that people want to share about the whole welcome back assemblies and stuff like that, I'll open it back up. If not, we can move on to ASB topics, but I'll give some space to see whether or not people want to share more.
I'm not really with Welcome Back to School. Hi, this is Kristen from Tacoma High School. I had found, I steal a lot of stuff from my cousin who is a junior in high school in California, and I steal a lot of what she does at her high school. And they use a program, an app called Vote for Schools, and there's 4 different components to it. There's vote, there's a messenger, there's a ticketing, and I forget what the last one was, but the Vote for School is, we did it for our elections. I had built a series of Google Forms that counted things on their own, and I didn't have to do any of the hand counting. But Vote for School allows you to upload a YouTube video of each candidate or a picture sheet of, you know, what the candidate's about. You get a login. Each kid has their own login. You can monitor the progress of the election. It's an app. You don't have to do any work in terms of that. Once they have the app, anytime you do any kind of vote, like we're going to use it to vote for our class slogans. You can put anything you want in the vote, and it can pick from, you know, like A, B, C, D. It can do a scale. It can rank things. So it's a pretty cool program, and it is not very expensive for the whole year. They offered till the end of June for me to try it, and then I was going to buy it after probably the first 2 weeks of using it because it was so slick for everything that we needed in terms of for any kind of vote of any kind. So it's called Vote for School. It's a little green icon. I'll put the link in the chat.
So within that, yeah, see, I'm remembering which hand to use. within that ASB topic section, because I know there's been a lot of stuff where people have talked about elections, so I appreciate that information that we just got shared there. There's also some stuff like, well, if you've already done elections, how are you doing like new officer trainings? What's the process that you're doing that virtually? And then that also comes into like, what's this new world look like with ASB activities and assemblies? And then there's the further discussion is like looking at like programs and budgets, because there's some people that are already been told, you know, that you're not going to be selling ASB cards because you're not having sports. So what's that look like for an ASB program? And then also the other one on there was clubs. And depending on whether you're at the high school or middle school level, some middle schools don't have clubs. But it's that whole aspect of within this ASB structure, what's this new world look like in a virtual setting? So if people want to jump in and share anything within that or something related to that, you're opening it up.
I can talk a little bit about using Microsoft Forms for ASB like POs and stuff over the summer. We had athletic things, so I put them all into a Microsoft form, emailed them out, and then used that as our minutes in the topic area that then went to the business office and had a record of every kid's name and the actual PO they were voting for and a yes or a no. So that worked pretty well. Budgets without ASB is going to be interesting. And clubs, we've reached out to 2 teachers, one who was doing Tai Chi during advisory time, and he's looking at doing that in the evening. And we have a certified yoga instructor who's going to look at offering yoga. I'm going to continue with DECA during the year, and we'll see how it goes.
We're gonna have clubs at Shorecrest as long as the advisors are up for it. And I think for us, the challenge will be like when to schedule it. We used to clubs meet at lunch. And so maybe they still will, like we actually have, a schedule where there's a lunch. But at the same time, everyone needs a break from the screen. So maybe they'll be later in the day. I don't really know. But I'm excited that our kids can have that as a place to connect still with each other. We're losing our kind of like activity fair. So we'll have to think about how to, talk about what the clubs are. And then none of the clubs like pick their officers for this year, which they usually do at the end of last year. So it's a mess, but we'll figure it out.
We are also doing club meetings. We're going to do them during lunch, and we are a Schoology district. So we figured out that if you are a Schoology district, you can set up a group that the kids have control over. And so we were able to make some of our ASB officers manage the group. So they're going to actually run the ASB page that has all the club meetings in it. And we'll have, we're asking them to meet at least once a month. At a minimum, we've been using a program the last couple of days called Remo, which is freaking amazing and I love it, but it's brand new. But I highly recommend it, but we're going to try and do meetings there. And we're splitting all of our student groups into 3 different types to make them more accessible for kids to access. So clubs spend money, organizations just meet to hang out, like Harry Potter fan club, and then affinity groups to make it a little easier for lots of kids to access different types of groups and makes it easier to start new ones.
Our district went full in on esports league and used some care funds to purchase gaming devices and also like licensing so that they can play some of the games on their Chromebooks at home. And we have like 70 kids out of 300 student population who are already signed up to play esports this year. So yeah, they're all in on esports.
Okay, so usually I'm really good at like navigating awkward silence. But as we have run over the 5:30 timeline, if there's things that you have questions about, or there's stuff where you're like, you want to know some of this stuff, part of what the bottom thing right over there is plans for future WACA Wednesdays. Our goal with WACA Wednesdays is to run them all year. So every 2 weeks, we're going to have a WACA Wednesday. And hopefully we gain traction with it. Hopefully you utilize this as a resource and you're like, yeah, I can do this an hour every other Wednesday, just pop in, see what's going on in the state and share and like get some ideas from people. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. So the next meeting, and I'm kind of blocking it a little bit right there, it's scheduled for 2 weeks from today. So it'll be September 2nd, which like that's my first day back to school. So I'm really excited about that I finish the first day and then get to come do this. And I'm not being facetious about it either. I'm actually excited about it. But some of those things, like as we start to make the schedule of what those WACA Wednesdays look like, this was a no-brainer to be like back to school, because it's obviously we're getting ready to go back to school. If you have ideas or things and you want to like shoot them out to, you know, if you're in a WACA Wednesday and you're like, what about this? Can we talk about something like that? You know, let us know and we'll be more than willing to go, yeah, that's a really great idea. We can allocate time to that, or we can make it a whole topic unto itself and have a whole meeting about that. So, you know, please look at this as it's a two-way tool. We don't want it to just be like, here's WACA, the board of directors, just pushing stuff out to you. We want to make sure that you understand that you have input. Oh, since James, would you like to share some of that? Because I'll give you the mic and let you share.
Yeah, I'll just talk really fast because I know it's like people are like burning to like get out of here. But no, AWSL, we have a ton of stuff that we've been cranking on all summer for everybody. We have secondary programs, elementary programs. Our fall conference this year that has traditionally only been for high school, it's going to be $250 per building for as many students as you can possibly bring. And that's for middle school and high school. So $250 for the fall conference. We do have Joe and I worked really hard and put together a kind of a guide of kind of really just great stuff that you all can use for culture and climate, for team building, for project planning. We sort of really looked at things through a more social emotional learning lens and through a more equity lens. So we've really upped a lot of the stuff, and that is called Smart Start, and that's on our website, and it's for $250. It's a great value for all that it is, and you can go on our website right now, awsleaders.org, and there's a portal, and you can just go and you can start buying. We have an online store now, so our days of hand entering things, we're techies now. We also, our elementary programs are really cool. And just for everyone to know, we're not calling it a flash sale, but it is a flash sale. So between now and September 30th, we're giving discounts, savings to get people going right at the beginning of the year. Once again, just go to our website. We've tried to do our best job to outline everything. And you should all know, if you have any questions, just hit us up and we'll be right there to respond. But we really have, just like you heard everybody else say kind of at the beginning, we worked really hard to serve schools the best we can. We partnered with a lot of principals over the summer to create stuff. So we've got module-based programs. That's right, AWSL has moved to module-based programs, and we have intro videos and PowerPoints and slides. And that's right, AWSL has progressed from the handouts and folders and pencils, and we're really proud of it. So just know that visit our website, awsleaders.org, hit us up, ask us questions. We're here for you. So there you go. I tried to burn through that as fast as I possibly could. Over and out.
Thank you, James. Yeah, I was looking at the AWSL website the other day and noticed that you had the 3 strands that are right there on the front page. And I appreciated the fact that you had the elementary on there, because that's one of the things as we start looking at this whole landscape of ASB and student leadership is how are we going to reach the people at that level as well. So I appreciate the fact you're already laying that groundwork there. There's some good things that are being put in the chat right now about things that could be added to the website. So I appreciate people sharing that. It's great to see those things being suggested. And some of that stuff would definitely be helpful, I think, especially as we're leaning into the concept of being more present and available for our members and the people around the state that are looking for aspects of what we do. And so, yeah, if you have other ideas you want to share, you can definitely like share them in the chat. You can send me an email. If you don't, you should have got an email from me at some point, because I send out emails. If you want my email, I will give it to you. I'll put it over here in the chat. How's that? But if there's anything else that people want to share, because again, now we're like 18 minutes over. If there's stuff that people want to share, I will type my email in there, and otherwise I'll get ready to wrap things up and get people on their way. Okay, if there's nobody else that wants to add anything, then I'm going to wrap things up and thank you all for attending. I appreciate the fact that we're now like almost 20 minutes over and I still have like 30 people here. So it's great that you guys came and hung out and shared. Remember, we will be back again 2 weeks, Wednesday, September 2nd, for our next WACA Wednesday. We're going to have stuff on the website that'll have more information with the WACA Wednesday tab, so you can get information from that. It's not currently there. Michael and I will talk about what that will look like, and he can get started on that. I'm sure he's very much looking forward to having more work. So thank you again for coming to the WACA Wednesday. I appreciate it. Hope to see you back in 2 weeks. If you have any other information, my email's over there. You want to send me an email, you have questions, I will gladly respond. So thanks again for coming, and have a great end of August, and good luck preparing for the start of the school year.